family and introduce you to the property and the history.
I'm gonna read this with Dave because I really don't need it. I'll just talk loud. Dave's here, Ellen's here, right here. My son Jacob, my daughter Emily, my nephew Samuel, and my nephew Andrew. That's all our families here. They'll pop up in the video, so you'll get to see them a little bit more in a minute. But it is an interesting story. Thanks for coming. We are very interesting people. I think you'll enjoy it. But this was put together this week, and we've been talking and trying to coordinate. So it might be a little bit rough. And I said, hey, there's no rules. I'm going to go through somewhat of a timeline, but he's got all the good stories. So at some point in time, I might just reference him for a story, or he might just say, stop here and tell you a story. So he's got all the good stories, and I'm just going to give you the history. So 1837, we're going way back. Way back. What happened in 1837? Well, Michigan becomes the 26th state to join the United States on January 26, 1837. I would suggest you pay attention. There's a quiz at the end. So, first date, 1837, Michigan becomes a state. Here's why that's interesting. You guys probably know this, right? Statehood is delayed due to the border dispute with Ohio. There's a conflict that can't be resolved over this piece of land called the Toledo Strip. So they're fighting over it, and they're not making us a state because of this fight. Here's what's interesting about that. In the long history of the battle between Michigan and Ohio, the undisputed champion is Michigan, and here's the reason why. Ohio got the Toledo Strip, which is a 5 to 8 mile strip of land, and we got the Upper Peninsula in trade. Thank you, right? It's good. It's so good. They got 5 to 8 miles that they complained about and got what they wanted. Okay, Ohio, here you go. So no offense to you from Ohio. Well, a little bit of offense. We got 9,000 square miles of land that borders 3 Great Lakes. So again, Ohio got that little line, that black line. We got that. All right, so as it pertains to what we're doing here tonight, I want to go back 50 years before Michigan became a state. 50 years before Michigan became a state. In 1787, a man named Peter Everett Witt was born in the Netherlands. Peter was baptized in the Reformed Church there. His name is still written in the record book, and the church still stands today from the 1700s. Peter marries Anya, and they have a guy named Herman in 1812. Herman then marries Agnes in the Netherlands in 1842. Herman and Agnes Witt, or DeWitt, moved to Ferrysburg in 1855, and on their immigration slip, they changed their name to DeWitt, and that's how we get the name DeWitt. It's from Herman. Well, Herman gets to Ferrysburg and works at the sawmills at Spring Lake, Grand River Junction. That is an actual picture of the sawmill he worked at the Spring Lake, Grand River Junction. So Herman DeWitt is working at the sawmill. Later, Herman builds a home for his family on a knoll. This is all we know of it. On a knoll off West Taft Road, 160 acres he purchased in Section 5 of Spring Lake Township and began farming. So that's where it all started, and according to my dad, that's roughly right across from DeWitt School.
Yeah, there's a knoll there, which is became a horse farm. But
Yeah.
if you go right straight across from that hill, there was a hill in there that's a farm. I'll tell you more about it later. That was owned by Ben DeWitt. So that's apparently the first settlement.
The first settlement. Yep. There's a picture of the land on Taft Road. Well, in 1858, so this is 3 years after Herman and Agnes arrived in Spring. The very first road between Ferrysburg and Muskegon, labeled Route 1, is cleared for the first time. They run a stagecoach up that road. It takes 4 hours. Here is a picture of the stagecoach that ran from Ferrysburg to Muskegon if you were up for the 4-hour trip, which I can't imagine because they didn't have TJ Maxx back then, so I have no idea who's making that trip. But there's a picture of the stagecoach. Now, to give you a perspective of when that was, 1858 was when that first Route 1 was built, which is, of course, now 174th Old Grand Haven Road, close to that. 100 years after that, the Mackinac Island Bridge was completed. That's how long ago that was. That's a picture of the inaugural ride across the Mackinac Island Bridge, and that's 83, a convertible Oldsmobile.
Yeah, made in Lansing.
There's 83 of them for the 83 counties that existed in Michigan, and every single one of them has the homecoming queen from that county in
Oh, that's.
So, back now to 1858, Herman and Agnes end up having 13 children. Eight of them are born in the Netherlands, but 5 are born in Spring Lake. 9 of those children live to adulthood. As far as we can tell, we have the names of 10 of them. And these are the names that are significant because this is where all the DeWitt family history begins. There's Carlos, Peter, John, Dirk, Mary, Edward, Otto, Charles, and Jacob. And Charles is the line that we come from. Landowners that Dave's going to talk about were Peter, John, Otto, Charles, and Jacob, but particular to us, Charles and Jacob.
Let me just give a little bit of that.
Okay?
There have actually been 5 owners to the land.
Can you guys hear him all right, or should I give him the mic?
I can do that.
Use him on the mic. You can sit and sit. Okay.
Can you hear me all right? Yeah. So there's 5 owners to the land, all DeWitts. The first was, I'll get the, I can't remember his last name, Peter and Cora. Bought the land. We're not exactly sure. They bought it from the railroad. And the railroad had huge land on both sides of it, and then they decided they didn't need it, started selling it off. And so that's the first person that bought this piece of property, our piece of property there. We don't know exactly the date when he bought that, but it was sometime between the founding of Michigan in 1871. In 1871, he sent it to John, and John's wife's name was Mary, I think. Yeah, that was in 1871. That's the second owner. He sold it to Jake DeWitt, who lives on about halfway down Taft Road on that little raise in the road there where my daughter, my youngest daughter, is about to build a house over there. And you know, if you come down Taft Road, there's a little bit of a rise there, and that's where Jake lived, Jake and Emma. He sold it to my dad in 1929, so my dad was the 4th owner, and then my dad died in 1972, and in 73 we put my name on the lease because my mother was getting plagued with people who wanted to buy the land, developers and whatnot, and as soon as my name went on it, that stopped. So that's why we did that. My wife's name was put on it in 1990, so we're the 5th owners as well. So those are the 5 people that own the land, all of them DeWitts, all of them related. Sometimes you got to go back a long ways to relate them. But these are the names that she's got here. Peter was the...
They were all the children of Herman and Agnes.
Peter was the first owner of the land, John the second one. The other ones are not owners of this land. Of course, Charles was my grandfather. We'll talk more about him as we go along. And Jacob is Jake's where we call Jake's Hill. It's that hill there, partway over up that little knoll on Taft Road.
Yeah, just passing on. All right. Well, Charles, of all of these kids, is born in 1865 in Ferrysburg, Michigan. And not long after that, in 1869, is when the railroad went in on the stagecoach route. And again, we have a picture here of the train moving, and you can just see that only being a mile from the beach is just all sand. There's no development, it's all sand. So they go put this railroad down, throw this train car on it, and run it through the sand from Ferrysburg up to Muskegon. This is the earliest map I can find with the picture of the route, which is the approximate route where it goes from Ferrysburg up to the stop in Ferrysburg, through the property that is our property, where your development is here, past Little Black Lake and on up. This is the earliest map we have of it, but that's roughly the area where it passed. Children of Herman and Agnes Charles and Anna have 7 children. There they are, and their dates. Second to last is David. This is Dave's father in 1907. Stuart is last on the list. We're going to talk about Stuart, because nobody knows anything about Stuart. Stuart's a big mystery. Stuart fled. We all wondered what happened to Stuart. When we found out what happened to Stuart, he's going to tell you about it when we get to the end. Or do you want to tell him right now?
No, I can't. It's a little bit of a long story. You want me to do it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're all dying to know that. I pitched Stuart. I was like, Stuart.
Father and daughter.
It's a little bit of a complicated story.
That would be.
When my grandpa DeWitt, Charles DeWitt, died, my dad dropped out of school, and he was in the 6th grade, to help his mother run the farm. And he was there until, he bought this land when he was 22 years old, but in that time he worked the farm with his mother. And when he bought this place and started working here, well, the Grandma DeWitt, Grandma Bowens, sold the farm and moved to Spring Lake, and she gave all the money to Stuart, and Stuart disappeared. And my dad was, he never could get over that he's the one that left the school and put all the work into it, and she didn't give him anything. And it went to Stuart. Well, nobody could find Stuart. When Grandma DeWitt died, the boys, I remember I was at the funeral, I was just a little kid, but I remember the brothers were trying to find him, because the mother just died, and they were looking all over, and they never succeeded. Nobody ever found.
Take the money and run.
Right.
I went on to Dallas Seminary. Ellen and I went in about 1970. I get a call from a lawyer in Missouri, and he said, "Do you have an uncle named Stuart?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I've got an uncle named Stuart. Nobody knows where he is." He said, "Well, I know where he is. He just died, and he's got a common law wife, and we're going to buy her off with a couple of cows." But he had a quarter of land, and we're going to sell the land and divide the land up. And the land is going to be divided among the brothers and the one sister that she died at age 20 with a train wreck. But it's going to be divided among the brothers, but they're all dead, so it's going to their children. But it's not going to be divided among the children proportion, but by the brother proportion. Well, I was an only child. So I got a whole lot more. I got $10,000 from it. And I hope my dad knows that.
All right, so that's Charles and Anna, and Anna apparently liked the youngest boy, and he apparently was a little shifty. So now we know the story of Stuart and what ended up happening to Stuart. So Anna here, the mom, has all these boys, and then Nettie, who Dave happened to mention was actually killed young in a train.
Yeah, 20 years old.
At 20 years old, she was in a train wreck and killed. But Anna said of all those boys, one girl's harder to raise than 6 boys. Having done both, I can testify to that. Sorry, honey, love you to death.
Another just comment. Nettie, before she died, she had 2 daughters, and we never kept track of them. The DeWitts didn't keep track of each other much anyway. And when we moved up here, my mother was living in the little house. Some people, a lady came to the door, and she was looking. She said, "Louise around?" She looked for my mother, and I said, "Yeah, she's next door." And she said, "I'm your first cousin." And she's one of the daughters of Nettie. They live over in Wisconsin, and she came over here and looked up to look up Louise, so that we saw one of the daughters of Nettie that was killed at age 20.
Yeah. Yeah. So David DeWitt, this would be Dave's father, is born in 1907. As a young boy, David works the DeWitt family farm with his father Charles on Route 1 across from Vanderwall Cement Company. When Charles dies, David leaves school at the age of 12 to help his mother work the farm, as you guys heard. Here's a picture of David DeWitt, at 22 when he purchases 40 acres from his uncle Jacob DeWitt in 1929. Good looking dude. He's got the hair anyways. He's got some good hair. So, we talked about Charles and Anna and Jacob, and since David here is born as a descendant of Charles, and then David Alvin, who's sitting right here. That's where they come from. And then Jacob on the right, brother of Charles, who the land was bought from. David builds 18207, which, believe it or not, still stands today. Where's Rick? Rick? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Behind our house.
Does this look familiar to you? I got good news for you.
Yep.
18207 still stands today. There it is. It's a beautiful. 18207 is currently under renovation and will one day be the home of David's great-granddaughter, Emily. How about that view?
Oh, that's a good view.
You like?
Yeah, I like
That's
it.
better,
I
right?
like it.
We're on it.
Okay,
We're on it.
good.
Keep that in your head.
I don't know if you mentioned that my dad built this house and lived in it as a bachelor sometime after 1930. We're
Yep.
not exactly sure when that was.
Yeah. So the house is still there in Rick's backyard. But it's going to be cuted up one day. Thank you. I know, isn't it cute? It's going to be some with path and stuff. Yeah. Okay. Well, in 1929, Dave's father begins farming trees. Here's a picture of the land looking back towards this of course, the trees in the background is all these houses now, right? So that property where these shrubs end is where all of this development is now, and right there it's just trees. But this is one of the earliest pictures of the property when they first started farming trees. Route 1, or Grand Haven Road, becomes Evergreen Acres Nursery. And there's the original sign.
Yeah.
That sat there. I got a good story about the sign. Do you want to hear another story? We could just do dates for the rest of the night, or I could tell a story. No, let's do a story. Evergreen Acres Nursery, as I'm sure you know, because you've driven past it, was moved down to Hickory, which you see the sign, see the Evergreen Acres, and we'll talk about that in the move. But my dad and I are heading to the airport. He flies, his plane's hangared in Muskegon. We're flying to the airport, and on the way in the airport, he says, "Hey, I see the farm is done there. I wonder what they're doing with that sign." And so I got in my head, I'm like, he's going to turn 80 this year. I'm going to stop by and get him that Evergreen Acres sign. Well, time goes by, I don't do it, and it's getting late, and I'm like, good grief, it's been 6 months, I got to get that done. So I stopped by Bosch's, because I know they're friends with Caterberg's, and I said, "Do you got Gary Caterberg's number? Because I want to ask him if I can buy that sign." He says, "Yes, I do." He runs inside, it's going a while, comes back out with a roll of masking tape, and on the inside of the roll of masking tape is a phone number. Right there. Take my phone out, take a picture of the number and the inside of the masking tape, and I leave. And I head out, and I'm heading north. I don't know where I'm going, and I'm like, gosh, you know what? I better do it right away, because the last time I let it go 6 months, and what if somebody comes in and bulldozes that sign? My dad really wants it. He's turning 80. I should get it, be a good daughter, so I call. I'm north now, way north up by Sternberg. Gary picks up. I'm like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but your dad managed the nursery when I was real little, and I remember." I said, "Well, here's what I'm up to," and I explained it to him. I said, "I don't know if you want that sign, but I'd love to buy that sign from you." And he says, "Well, I'm there right now." I said, "I'm turning around." I whip the car around, I go back in. He's standing there with the guy that's about to buy the property. They were 30 seconds from shaking hands and that sign being gone forever. And so I mentioned to him, and this guy's listening to us talk, and we're telling stories of the guy that's buying it. And I said, so here's the deal, and I need that sign. He's like, "Yeah, you can have the sign." He said, "But I can do you one better. I have the original sign that was hand-painted by his dad on the nursery." I'm like, "Shut up." He goes, "I do. It's in the shed right over there. We cleared the whole property out." And I'm like, "Well, I guess I won't take the sign. It's still sitting there." So meanwhile, the guy that's buying it, he's all interested. He's like, "Let's go." So he wants to see the sign. He has no idea who we are. So we hustle over there. Little, tiny, and so the three of us carefully pick it up, get it in the back of my car to the best I can. he hadn't seen it since, I asked him when he got the sign, so my dad got the sign in 72. So it had been in that shed since 72, and now it's in our barn, so there it is. David DeWitt, Dave's father, marries Anna Louise Westerhouse Obrin. If any of those names sound familiar to you, that's her history. They then have a son, him, in 1945, David Alvin DeWitt. There he is.
You all ready for the airplane, see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so funny. I never noticed that. What the heck? That's where he got the idea. So, Dave grows up on the farm. Apparently, they're trying to get trees in his system because every picture I could find of young Dave, he's standing by a tree. So he grows up on the farm. There's a picture of he and his dad, David. David and Louise then build the house at 18237. That is Dave standing on some sawhorses in the front of that house that they live in to this day. Well, at some point, Dave's mom's like, you know what, you gotta go to school. So guess where he goes to school? DeWitt Schoolhouse, which was originally called DeWitt District Number 6 School. It ran from 1891 to 1957. There's another of the earlier pictures of it. Here's a picture of the inside. Welcome to DeWitt School. DeWitt School was designated a Michigan Historic Site on January 29, 1979. They don't have exact records. They estimate 500 to 800 students walked up to 2 miles a day to attend, one of whom was David Alvin DeWitt. There he is, heading off to DeWitt School. So we're going to pause right now because, of course, having gone to DeWitt School, and his family having donated the land that built DeWitt School, he's got some stories about DeWitt School. So I'm going to turn it over to him to tell some stories about DeWitt School.
We'll back up in time a little bit. It was donated by the Bosches and the DeWitts, and my grandfather Charles was on the school board. And this is back around the turn of the century, in the early 1900s. And on the school board, they have I don't know how often they have a meeting, but the wives would come too, because it was a social deal where they could talk and whatnot. Well, there's one guy on the school board, his name was Fred Bloom. His wife, Mrs. Bloom, did all the talking. Yeah. And Fred didn't say anything, but his wife talked. So my grandfather stood up and he said, he was kind of a tall, thin guy, Abe Lincoln kind of a guy now. I'm more like my grandmother, but he stood up and he said, when I went to school, we learned a little story, a little poem. I'll never marry for love, I'll never marry for riches, but I'll marry a gal 6 feet tall so she can't wear my britches. Needless to say, Mr. Bloom was not too happy about that. Well, a little while later, Charles went to get some supplies from a general store. I suspect it was in Perrysburg, I'm not sure. So he takes his horse and buggy and gets some general store. When he pulls up to the store with his horse and buggy parallel to the store, he sees in front of him, he sees Mrs. Bloom's wagon. And so he takes his horse right up to the back of the wagon. Well, Mrs. Bloom had just bought a new broom, and she had the broom sticking out the back of the wagon. And so they went to the store, when they come out, the horse had eaten that whole broom. There was nothing left but a pole with a stub on it. And of course, Mrs. Bloom was just livid. The story is that he bought her a new broom, but I'm not sure about that. I want to take up other things about DeWitt School. I was the last DeWitt to go to DeWitt School. There was one class after me before they closed it down. But there were 7 kids in my class. It was kindergarten through 4th grade. There was 6 boys and a girl. And I thought through the other night, and I was able to name all of them. And most of the guys, we just chummed around with each other anyway. So you moved, you were on a row, and the kindergarten, and the next first grade you moved to the next row, and then when you get to the other wall, you're in fourth grade, and after that you go to third. Well, Mrs. Walda ran that school with an iron hand. She's about your high, hair in a bun, and she had a yardstick that was, you know, a square. It wasn't a little flimsy thing. And she would whack you with that thing if you got out. They probably have arrested her today, but I mean, mouth off of Mrs. Walda, you're going to get whacked with that stick. Well, but you know, and she ran a tight ship, taught us the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and she was well respected. The guys I run around, they'd get whacked about every day. They respected her. They had no bad. I've never heard them say anything bad about Miss Walda. Well, one day, the kids in the first grade row, started giggling, and so she told them to stop laughing. They stopped laughing. A little bit later, they started giggling again. She said, "Now stop laughing." So they stopped. And a little while later, they started giggling again. She walked over there and she said, "Okay, why are you giggling about?" One of them says, "Freddie made a little noise."
All right. So there is Dave off to DeWitt School. He grows up working the farm with his parents. There he is with the trees on the property right next door there. There he is with the trees, pulling his wagon with his overalls. There he is with the team of horses. I'd like to pause real quick here to say that you tell them about your dad in the car, the story about your dad and how he worked with the team of horses because he didn't like.
My dad worked with horses all his life. All my life he cultivated with horses. He never got on a tractor a day in his life. He bought one when I was in high school because I complained so much. And as soon as I went to college, he sold it. He never got on. He always cultivated with horses. And he understood horses. You know, he was really good with them. That's what he grew up with. But he did not like, machinery. To the extent that he bought, from 1950 until the year he died in 1972, he bought a new Chevy every year. And he traded in on another new Chevy. And there was a Herman Miller in Ravenna, that's where he got it. And he also got, they knew each other well. He would buy Commodore from their cattle sale and pile it up in the yard, and then we hauled chicken manure, which we could do. And then he'd let it rot all winter. And then he had a bulldozer bulldoze that over the fields. And then he put about 6 inches of sugar sand, reach sand over top of it, keep the weight down. And you could print and watch how the trees grow. I mean, it was, he bought a new car every year and never drove it. My mother drove the car. He'd ride to church with her and whatnot, but he didn't drive those cars. He had an old Jeep that he got from the military surplus that had bullet holes in it.
So there's
Becky, I have a story. When I
Yeah.
first started dating and we came here, I remember the manure was in big piles out by 174th Street, and people would come to the door complaining about the flies. Because if it was hot, they'd have their windows down and the flies come in from the manure pile, and it stunk so bad. His father didn't care, but it was just, I couldn't even believe it. I had never been around manure. I'm a city girl. So I was like,
No matter how bad the winter was, how cold it was, those piles just steamed. There wasn't a bit of snow on them.
So Dave's helping farm with the trees. There he is with the hoe and the horse. You can see the trees growing in the background there. And there he is with the bales of hay with the Jeep there that they got. He and his dad. He still has that red hat. his office today.
Yeah, I got another story.
Yep, yep.
Before they were haying with bales, they put hay loose on the wagon.
Stand up.
And
Stand up.
all of that land between ours,
Stand up.
Stand up.
the land between our place and DeWitt School, I don't know which of you lived there, but on all those houses to the west of us, across the pond, all that was a field. It was all haying fields from there all the way to DeWitt School. And before they put the hay in bales, they loaded it loose on the wagon. Well, they'd rake it with a rake the horse pulled, and so the hay was in loose hay in rows. And then they had a hay fork. I don't know if you guys have seen a hay fork. It had a platform going up, and as it moved, it picked up the hay and fed it back over top on the guys on the back, which would then settle it under the wagon. Well, I was too young to do that, so but I was old enough to do something, so they sent me to drive in the tractor. John Deere, Farm LM is what it was. You know what Farm LM, it had its huge back tires and the little trikey front tires. Dangerous as heck tractor, but it was so much fun to drive. Anyway, so I'm driving, and so that the point was to put the little wheels over the row, so that when that fork came, it would pick that up and feed it over the top and then run up under the guys on the back. So I'm driving down the row, and I look over and I see a blue racer snake going on that road, on the next row over to me. So I just, over here, and pretty soon I hear, "Oh, snake there!" I just steered back into the road where I
was. During his farming days, very young age, at 15, Dave discovers his love of flying. A very, very young teenager, he got his pilot's license. This is your first plane?
That's my first plane.
Tell him what that plane is, and tell him the planes that you've had since, and stand up
What's
first.
the name?
Go ahead.
That's a 1946 Aranca.
That's a 1946 Aronica Champ. Yeah, go ahead.
I bought it with a friend of mine. I think we paid $1,200 for it. We each paid $600, that seems to me. But I flew that thing. It had no electrical system, no starter, no radio, no lights. You turn the prop to start it, and you're supposed to tie the tail down, but it never really kind of went anywhere. So you got to just turn the prop and walk around and get in and to start it. I flew that thing all over the state, and just avoiding the controlled airspaces. But
You'll see why that's significant at the end. Keep going.
I sold that when I went to college. My friend and I owned it together. Sold it when we went to college. He went to the Air Force and I went to Michigan State. And I rented an airplane while I flew at Michigan State. I'm 80 years old and I started flying when I was 15. And there's only 1 year I wasn't current, and that's the first year I went to seminary. Like most graduate schools, they try to flush you out first year. So after that, I started renting a Super Cub in Dallas. But when we moved to Tennessee, I bought another very similar to this, but it had a much bigger engine in it. But it was not in very good shape. I mean, the engine was not going to last too long. The fabric wasn't good. I took the wings off at one point, and then I sold it when we moved back up here. Then I bought a Aranca. It's a Aranca Champ like this, but an 0235 engine, which is it had a lot of engine. The guys that had it before me had a 40-gallon gas tank in it. They pulled banners over stadiums with it. It still had the bracket on the back. And I flew that airplane for 20 years. That was a great airplane. Anyway, now I have a side-by-side Cub. It's a J4 Cub. It was made in 1939. So that's my history of airplanes.
I might say that airplane,
Just a minute. Go ahead.
Do you still fly it?
Yeah, I flew Sunday.
Yeah, and you have a runway.
Well, it's in, we're gonna talk
I
about
back
that.
onto your property on Copperfield. I can swear, I've heard a couple of airplanes take off from your strip.
No, they haven't, but what I do, I have a federal permit for it, so people can't complain about me buzzing it, so. What I do is I come down level with the trees and make a cut up around it so you can hear that. I don't-
Somebody built a bunch of houses at the end of the runway, so now he can't land there.
I wonder who that was. That's great.
This is him making that approach that he just spoke about on the property. He's pulling up right where the back tree line is there, is right where your houses are, and he's coming in and then pulling up right at sunset. So at 18, Dave goes to Rainbow Lake Bible Camp, where Major Score, he meets my beautiful mother. This is Ellen Jane Bonnell. Dave and Ellen married June 15, 1968.
Wait, you're gonna leave Rainbow Lake? You gotta come back.
You got a Rainbow Lake story?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Fine.
We told them we're going to be here till 11, so just go.
I wasn't going to the camp, it was a family camp. I wasn't going there. I went up with about 3 other guys. We were just gonna see if we could cause trouble and find some women. I was the only one that succeeded. But we weren't part of the camp. We went up there to see what trouble we could cause and if we could find any women, and I found one. So.
That's
Where is Rainbow?
About 20 miles north of Grand Rapids. Outside
okay.
of, by Stanton.
Yeah,
Rockford.
yeah, okay.
So meets Ellen Jane, but let's go back to that. Pretty woman. Okay, Dave and Ellen married June 15, 1968. Dave then graduates from Michigan State, and they moved south, where, as he mentioned, they go to graduate school. He went to Dallas Theological Seminary. There they are. I put this up because of the very classy matching blazer and tie, which I thought was well played, right? Yes. So Dave and Ellen have 3 girls, Rebecca, Deborah, and Sarah. I would be the first, 1971. Here we are as a family down south. There's my mom and my sister Debbie on the back, and I'm driving the little 50, and my little sister Sarah is on the back. And we put that plus another motorcycle in that van behind, along with all 5 of us, and went all over the place. Because at one point in time, I said something to my dad like, I think I should get a horse. And he went, horses are way too much work. I'll get you a motorcycle. And I went, okay. And we've been on motorcycles our whole entire lives. Our kids have been on motorcycles their whole entire lives. We just grew up that way. But back then, you put the motorcycles in the back, and Mom and Dad get the seats. And we took all the seats out to put the motorcycles in. So where do the kids sit? On the motorcycles, in the back of the car. But the roof's right here. So you sit like this on the back of the motorcycle until you get to where you're going. This van has epic stories to it because we did a lot of traveling in this van, and at one point in time, for some reason or another, he had unbolted the seats and moved it over to the side, but then didn't bolt it down. So we were still using the seat, so every time we made a left-hand turn, it was feet down, and we put our feet down to hold the seat against the back of the van so that the seat didn't crush us when you went around the corner. So we had a really good system. And then he had a great idea, because we were taking such long trips, he's going to put a bed in the back of the gold van. So he builds a bed in the back of the gold van, and it's got like a platform and some carpet on it. He's like, oh, we'll have it underneath for storage. Only problem is he drove 4-foot nails into the carpet, into the bed, and the storage. And so we thought it would be really great fun to crawl under there while we were traveling. Only every time you hit a bump, you got a nail in the back. Yeah, and they never had any issues with it all. You know, I'm like, it's gonna be a long trip. Go play under the bed. Okay. And here we are. We survived. Dave receives a doctorate degree from Dallas Theological Seminary. There he is with his parents receiving his degree in 1972. Dave's father, David, dies. We have one single picture of me as a 1-year-old with him. It's the only picture he has with a grandchild. It's very sweet. Well, at that point, when his dad dies, John Kingerberg manages Evergreen Acres Nursery until 1982. And at that point moves down to Hickory in 174th. And Dees then moves into 18209, which is not the same building as the one I showed you, the white one that's Rick's View. It's not like, but it looked exactly like it. So there were two of those. One where 18207 is, and then 18209 was right in front of it. We, as kids, lived with Dave and Ellen in the house, their house, 182. But Dave's mother then moved into 18209. So this is 18237 when they had just put an addition on the back. For 4 summers then, DeWitt Property, which was Evergreen Acres Nursery, becomes West Michigan Girls Soccer Academy. I don't know if you knew that, but I played soccer at Michigan State, and I actually played a semi-pro summer league for Bud Light in Detroit. We got all the damaged cans that fell off the truck.
To be sponsored.
Yeah, we had to do something to pay well, if they paid me dented beer cans, but in college it wasn't a bad deal. But I also ran a summer camp there, and so we had a soccer field on the property. And again, you can see the colored trees in the background, which are all houses now, and the little pine trees that you guys see from where you're looking at. There's just a couple there that hadn't been there. Well, in 1993, the original Evergreen Acres Nursery becomes DeWitt Property Airport, which is what it is today. The FAA gives it an identifier number of 34MI. It's 605 degrees elevation above ground, and it is controlled by Chicago Center if you're calling in. You can make an emergency landing there if need be. You just have to report it to the FAA, so nobody wants to do that because nobody wants to deal with the FAA. But it is there for emergency purposes. It's there for approaches, and believe it or not, what it's used for most is training for emergency landings. So people who get into simulators, they're practicing for their pilot's license in simulators, they will use the airport as an emergency alternative to setting down on the beach, which is very populated, right? So you've got Muskegon, you've got Grand Haven, and in between you've got the only emergency access other than a beach landing. And so for simulator use, on the computers, they use the runway for that. But it is now actually officially DeWitt Property Airport. Do you want to say more about that?
One of the guys I meet with does simulator stuff all the time, and he said, I made several landings on your airport with my simulator. It's a pretty short runway. Do you get it in there? And he said, well, I hit the subdivision a couple times.
Yeah, that's.
We're like, we don't know those
That
people.
is
We don't
not
know those
funny.
people. So here's a picture, above ground picture before any of your houses went in. You can see the DeWitt Property Airport that where it started. It was our idea that we would hopefully buy the land that your houses sit on and extend it. You would see it would have doubled the runway, and then it would have been usable for us. But Boss bought the land, and we couldn't compete with him, so he bought it and he put the houses in. And there wasn't a shred of houses put in there. You could just see all the trees. You've got your bearings. Right there is where DeWitt School is. And here's the runway as it sits, and here's the field where the snake was thrown up into the wagon and terrified, and then you got DeWitt School Taft here, and 174. So Dave's mother, Louise, died in 1996. Rebecca, me and my husband Charles built a new house on the site of the old 18209. I don't have a picture of that with me, but I showed you the picture of 18207, which it looked just like that. And we built this. So that's what sits there now. If you eat at Arboretum Inn and you look through the parking lot of Arboretum Inn, you'll see our house there. At that house, Emily was born in 2001, Jacob in 2004, and Emily and Jacob continue to live on the property. So they get special mention here because they are property dwellers, and the speech is about the property. Emily is currently a librarian at Spring Lake District Library. So if you go in to the library, or you bring your kids or your grandkids in, head to the children's section and you will find Miss Emily working in the library. My son Jacob, yeah, in his suit, manages the automotive department at Great Haven Walmart. So if you're ever in Walmart and you want to see a really good looking guy, head over to the automotive department. He is there working. They both continue to live there. Dave and Ellen's middle daughter, Debbie, is married to John. They live in Greensboro, North Carolina. They have 3 children, James, Eli, and Anna. Here's Debbie.
Oh, nice.
Here's Eli. Here's Anna. Here's John. And then they have a son, their firstborn son, who's actually severely multiply impaired, but absolutely precious. And their dog Lola. So Debbie and her family do visit the property every summer and every Christmas, and and James likes rides on the tractor in the Polaris, so you probably often see them around. Dave and Ellen's youngest daughter is Sarah. She was married to Jeremy, and very, very recently this year he passed suddenly. So we've had a very, very difficult year, to say the least. I was 52 years old and died of a heart attack in his sleep. His oldest son, Andrew, is here. His youngest son, Samuel, is here. Sarah and Isaiah are actually in Poland at a Bible camp teaching in the mountains right now, so they could not be here.
Poland?
Poland.
Oh,
Poland, in the mountains in Poland teaching. And Caleb is about to get married in Montana. They're heading out right after this to go. So Caleb is getting ready to get married. So that's her boys, and there's the picture of it.
there we go.
So for oldest, Andrew, next Caleb, Isaiah is teaching up in the mountains, and Samuel is here tonight.
Very good.
Yes, sweet boys. Sarah has just broken ground on her new house that she's building on Jake's Hill. Here's what's crazy. There's the house picture I just took it today of the dozer and the land being cleared on Jake's Hill. Now, if you remember I promised you a quiz. You know the date when Jake lived on Jake's Hill. Yes? No? The hill that Jacob and Emma DeWitt lived on after they were married in 1916, 110 years later, is going to have a new home by another DeWitt. The address will be 174 Taft Road. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you for hosting us. It's very sweet of you. Thank you for hosting us. It was great. I'd like to open up now if you have any questions for Dave or Ellen or the kids, or what's it like having Dave as a grandpa? Any question at all, I'd like to open it up for questions. Yes, sir.
I don't have a question.
Okay.
I was Sarah's sixth grade teacher.
Come on! What's your name? What's your name?
I have been to your house before a parent-teacher conference.
Ah!
Mom,
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, you look good.
I'm old.
Yeah, me too. Wow, that is so cute. I'm gonna tell her that.
You tell her that.
I will tell her that. That is
Remember her
awesome.
well.
That is awesome. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I have a son that's turning 60, and he has a dear friend named Kurt DeWitt.
Oh, okay.
And he always said he's related
Yeah.
to you in some way.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, and trying to get it all sorted out is tough because, first of all, when you have 13 kids, and then the next generation has kids,
Yeah.
and the next generation has kids, and they all name them Peter, Jacob, David, and Charles. And I'm like trying to sort these names out and the dates. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. How about a Blaine or something thrown in there every once in a while? But yes, they all. It's not Dutch. Yeah. It's not Dutch. It's not much. I know.
Well, we aren't all Dutch here.
Well, I know it's very true that the DeWitts have a history in this land, and they all are related for sure. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
So my granddaughters, we sit on our deck and we look at the old White House that you're redoing, and they're dying to know what it looks like inside.
Yeah.
And how many people lived in that? It's not a very big building.
Oh, it's so tiny. It is so tiny. I'm guessing. You could put 2 or 3 of them in this room, the whole entire thing. So it's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. You barely turn around in the bathroom. It is a mess. I'll take you through it anytime you'd like. It's a special mess now because I'm doing demo, but I'll let you stand up and tell you what you know of the people that had lived in 07.
My dad lived there as a bachelor. when I was a little kid.
Tell him to stand up.
Mom wants you to stand up, so I don't know. I don't know if you want to or not, but Mom wants you to, so.
My dad lived there as a bachelor. He then moved to Muskegon. He worked for Campbell Wine Cannon in Muskegon. And that bordered over World War II, and they had a war deferment because they were making tank engines. And so there was a bad explosion there. He was burned very bad in the hospital for about 3 months.
Those jobs. Terrible.
Yeah, he had scars all the way down the side of his face. What else?
Well, the 07, that you had some
Who else
some
in
people
07?
living in 07?
Yeah, as I grew up, there was a lady by the name of Della Riggs that lived there. And she lived there for many years. I think most of my growing up childhood years, at least my years when I was between 10 and 15, nice old lady. I didn't know too much about her, but she and the lady there's a little house, the one lot there that we don't own, and there was a lady that lived there, and she'd call on the phone. It was back when you had everything was a party line. You had one ring or two or five. You didn't know your ring was. Well, she'd call Della, and Della would say, yeah, right, and then she'd put the phone down and go wash dishes. Yeah, right. She'd do that all morning. She'd just go, and I've seen her do it. But there was a young couple that lived there at some time, I think before Della did, not for very long.
Yeah, it's been empty for 35 years.
Now,
So.
John lived there for a while. Before he was married,
Debbie's husband lived there for a little bit, but I know that because as we're doing demo, we found 5 different wallpapers. Yeah, and four layers of walls. So cement board, and then like the original cement board, and then plaster, and then a wood, and then somebody put drywall. At least 4, maybe 5. So.
And there's been an addition on it. It was even smaller when my dad lived there.
Now tell them real quick, because I can't remember who it was, but tell them about what was the lady in your family that would listen in to the gossip while she was on the toilet? What was that?
Della Riggs.
No, the lady who would listen to the gossip.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think I know what the family was, but maybe I won't mention it. But the guys would go out and when it was haying time or whatnot, and they'd go out early and they'd come in for lunch around 10 o'clock. And this lady wanted to be a part of the gossip, and the toilet was right off of the kitchen. And she'd sit in the toilet with the door open so she could be part of the conversation.
Oh my gosh! All right.
Another little story about that. This is my grandma DeWitt, Grandma Boland. She was a hard driver anyway, but the guys would do the same thing. They'd come in around 10 o'clock they'd get some pancakes and she would say, well, why don't you chop some wood while you're resting? My dad was always like, here they come in, they're going to get time to rest, and she wanted to chop wood. But that's the way she was. She was a driver. She would, Charles one time said that, took her out to show how nice the field was, that they had a nice crop, and she said, well, why didn't you plant twice as many? That's Grandma DeWitt.
Yes, sir.
Not a question, I just want to give you a lot of credit. Our living room den area opens up on where the drainage dishes and the pond outlet is there. And I see you out on a daily basis almost, walking on the path.
Yeah.
We've been here for 23 years, and you've been doing it for, I'm sure, longer
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah, I got a story of
And
that.
any weather, weather?
Oh, no,
Snow?
it doesn't matter, no. He
Every-
started running, he started running, I believe, you know, his dad died of a heart attack, he started running, we were down in Dallas, that's where I was born in Dallas. And he started running 6 miles a day and would do it no matter what. And how many times, Mom, the police would bring him home and say, it's 120 degrees, it's too hot for him to be running. Stop letting him out to run. But he did that till he couldn't run anymore, and now walks with the weights, and he has Parkinson's, and so he's had a hard time holding his weights. And so my daughter, because you know, we're like, well, how about you set the weights down? No, can't do that. Why not? Just can't. Okay. So we strap him on. So now he's got his weights. We've got it velcroed on, so he can still do his walking. And
Emily takes care of me.
and Emily's taking care of him, and he's, you know, and as Parkinson's does, it makes you a little bit weaker and harder to walk, and occasionally he trips on the roots. So we're doing the best we can with the tractors to get the roots covered up, but just in case now, just FYI, for when you see, he's now wearing his chainsawing helmet, so that when he falls, so we've got the weights out of his hands, we've added the helmets, we're trying to make adjustments, because the idea, how about not doing that, doesn't work, because it's, as you said, every day, and he doesn't miss, so.
I figured he was just listening to the radio.
No.
Where's your house?
Right where the pond outlet, the new pond,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
dug.
at the end of the ditch.
That's where the drainage ditches come together.
Yeah, yeah,
And so we've got probably the largest
yeah,
piece of property.
yeah.
Where the
Bordering.
ditch comes together across there, that's your house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a beautiful place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, he's not gonna stop. It's just, you know, every once in a while we just drive out. Anybody see Dad in a while? Somebody better head out. But you know, like we had, you guys remember us this spring and last spring, but we had the winds that came through. We had a swath of wind that came through, knocked down 40, 50 trees, and we've been, the last 2 summers, he and I cutting in a friend, trying to get them cut up to get the trails cleared. Why? So he can keep walking the trails. But it's been a lot of work, and we tried this. We're in this stage, right? The kids and I are the parents saying to the parents, how about you do a little less? I don't know if you guys have kids around that are making these types of suggestions, but it doesn't go over well. You know, like I made this suggestion, like, okay, I know I'm not going to get you to stop using your chainsaw. How about you let me do it when somebody's around? Oh, it's fine. So anyways, yeah. You'll see us out a lot, doing a lot of work all the time, but for sure, he's never missed. Yeah. So.
Tell about Grandpa Westerhouse's property. And,
I didn't hear.
Yeah.
The other side of the family, my mother's relatives, were the Ogrins that lived on the other side of Black Lake. And my grandfather, after he married Tekla, they had, oh, that's another good story, actually. They had Charlie and Ferd and Alban and Tekla was the girl. And my grandfather married Tekla. Well, the other boys, they hunted together, and the guy that my dad with most of the time was Alban. Ogren, their name was Ogren. They were the Swedish settlers. And he introduced my dad to my mother, and that's why my middle name is Alban. They hunted back through the hills there, all the way back to where Holiday Hill, not Holiday Hills.
Yeah.
Hoffmaster.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah, but what's the park there?
Hoffmaster.
Oh, Hoffmaster. Yeah.
Because he had my grandpa had 30 acres back there that he sold to Hoffmaster with a deal. He lived there as long as he could have as long as he was alive, and he lived to be 93, so it was a pretty good deal, I guess. But that chunk of Hoffmaster was what he owned. But that's a Swedish group. That was not a Dutch group. That was a
Yeah, so you know, this is.
And my dad dated my mother with a Model A Ford. In the winter, he'd drive across Black Lake to date her. I got pictures of that old car. I don't think I got across the lake, but
It's real shallow.
and my mother told a story about several times when she graduated from high school. She had a little paper from a business school. I think it was a Howell School of Business. I can't remember. But my dad picked her up in the car, and they were going somewhere, and she had that paper. He said, "What's that?" "Well, it's a business college I was kind of looking at, but." She said, "I can't." My dad said, "Well, that's what you ought to do. It's a good idea." And she said, no, I can't do that because it costs too much, and my parents can't afford to send all the kids to school. There were 4 of them. So they're not going to send any of them. They wouldn't do anything unless they could do the same thing for all of them. Well, the next time he came to pick her up, he handed her the money. My dad had no interest in being fair to everybody. But she told that story quite a few times.
Tell about when you walked through the dunes with that. So
Tell her
funny.
what?
When you walked through the dunes.
Oh. Back when we were little kids, we would hike back through the dunes. There was nothing there but dunes and sand. And
Yeah.
we would hike from our place all the way back through across and all the way through the dunes to Lake Michigan. And we just take all our clothes off and go swimming in the lake, put them back on, and come back. There's nobody. We never saw a soul. Well, one day, and we did this several times. There was several of us that did it off and on. Well, a couple of guys were over at my place, and it was raining like crazy. It was 9 o'clock at night, dark as it could be, and we decided we're going to hike back to Lake Michigan. So we started out for Lake Michigan, and we were about 3 hours wandering around. We never could find it. We finally got back about 3 in the morning, and my dad got the biggest kick out of that. You couldn't even find Lake Michigan? It's not exactly hard to find. So we were wandering big black on the inside of a cow, you know.
Oh, yes, sir.
Did you ever give hay rides on your
Oh, yeah.
property?
Oh,
I
yeah.
do remember that.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to do that when I was younger.
You were?
Yes.
That's very
And
nice.
did you board horses too? No.
No, it was
I
on
never
tap.
really do with my horses.
Oh, that's Norris.
My dad was the horses guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, that was.
All right, anybody else? No?
All
Well,
good.
thank you so much for hosting us.
Thank you very much. Really.